January 1st, 2016. The world enters a year that will eventually be described as a glitch in the matrix. On the surface, the global engine is humming. The smartphone has become an extension of the human hand, and the digital dream of a connected, borderless world seems closer than ever. But beneath the fiber optic cables, a tectonic shift is occurring. This is the year the unthinkable stops being a joke and starts being the evening news. From the quiet suburban living rooms of Middle America to the rain-slicked streets of industrial northern England, a silent revolution is brewing. 2016 is the year where the polls fail, the pundits fall, and the establishment finds itself standing on a trapdoor. It is the year of the great upset, where the rage of the forgotten meets the power of the algorithm. We are about to witness the birth of a new kind of politics, one fueled by memes, populism, and a total rejection of the status quo. From the tragic loss of cultural icons to the sudden jarring shift in global alliances, 2016 is the year the world's motherboard didn't just crash, it was reformatted. The script is gone, the censors are in the red. By 2016, the global village has become a global pressure cooker. The decade-long promise of globalization, that rising tides would lift all boats, is facing a brutal reality check. In the rust belts of the West, the boats have been stuck in the mud for years, while the yachts of the 1% have sailed into a different stratosphere of wealth. This is the year of the great disconnect. Technologically, we have reached peak social. Platforms like Facebook and Twitter are no longer just tools for sharing photos. They have become the primary nervous system of human society. But this nervous system is being hijacked. The attention economy has realized that outrage is more profitable than information. We are living in the filter bubble, where algorithms feed us exactly what we want to hear, deepening the trenches of our polarized world. Politically, the post-Cold War liberal order is fraying at the edges. The migrant crisis in Europe, fueled by the agonizing civil war in Syria, has created a sense of border anxiety that is being expertly exploited by a new wave of nationalist leaders. Culturally, the mood is one of nostalgic mourning and digital escapism. This is the year of Pokémon Go, where millions of people wander the real world looking at digital ghosts, a perfect metaphor for a society that is increasingly detached from physical reality. The context of 2016 is a world that is online but off track. It is a world of record-breaking heat, persistent inequality, and a growing suspicion that the people in charge have no idea what happens next. We are hyper-connected but fundamentally divided, watching the old world burn through the glowing screens of our smartphones. The spark that fundamentally changed the trajectory of 2016 was a dual shock to the cultural and political system. It began in January with the death of David Bowie, followed soon by Prince. These weren't just celebrity passings, they were the extinction of the avant-garde. It felt as if the 20th century was finally, physically leaving the room, taking its mystery and its legends with it. This cultural vacuum created a sense of unease that set the stage for the political earthquake of the summer. On June 23, 2016, the Brexit referendum occurred. For years, the idea of the United Kingdom leaving the European Union was dismissed as a fringe fantasy. But when the sun rose on June 24th, the impossible had happened. This was the inciting event because it proved that the polls were broken and the experts were blind. It was the first major black swan event of the decade, signaling that the era of centrist stability was dead. Brexit changed the lens of 2016. It wasn't just about a trade bloc. It was a declaration of independence from the global elite. It gave a blueprint to populist movements across the globe, proving that a targeted, data-driven campaign could topple a decades-old establishment. This event triggered a currency shock and a psychological shift. It proved that the world was no longer moving toward integration, but toward fragmentation. Every event that followed, the rise of nationalism, the questioning of alliances, the return of the border, flowed from that summer morning in London. The inciting incident was the moment the world realized that the people were no longer following the script. Politics in 2016 was a high-speed collision between the 20th century political machine and 21st century digital warfare. The defining political event was, without question, the US presidential election. Donald Trump's journey from a joke candidate to the 45th president of the United States was the ultimate systemic shock. It was the year of the outsider. where a billionaire real estate mogul and reality TV star used the very tools of the establishment, the media and the internet, to burn the establishment down. This wasn't just a change in leadership, it was a total paradigm shift. The election was the first truly post-truth contest, where fake news and alternative facts became tactical weapons. The revelation of the DNC hack and the shadow of Russian interference turned the democratic process into a spy thriller. It exposed a deep division in the American psyche, a chasm between the urban elite and the rural heartland that had been ignored for decades. Across the globe, the political map was being redrawn. In the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte's hardman populism signaled a retreat from liberal norms. In Turkey, a failed coup attempt led to a massive crackdown and a consolidation of power by Recep Tayyip Erdogan. 2016 was the year that democratic backsliding became a global trend. It was the year of the strongman, where the promise of order and national pride outweighed the messy complexities of international cooperation. The political event of 2016 was the death of the center, replaced by a raw, unmediated struggle for power that ignored the old rules of engagement. Socially, 2016 was defined by the digital takeover. The primary social event was the Pokémon Go phenomenon. In July, the world seemingly lost its mind as millions of people took to the streets to catch virtual monsters. This was the inauguration of augmented reality, the moment the digital world successfully colonized the physical world. It was a brief, bizarre moment of global unity before the social landscape turned dark. Then came the clown sightings. A strange viral panic spread across the globe as people reported creepy clowns lurking in woods and on street corners. It was a social hysteria that perfectly captured the underlying anxiety of the year, a sense that something sinister was hiding just out of sight. At the same time, the Harambe meme transformed a tragic incident at a Cincinnati zoo into a digital cult phenomenon, exposing the absurd, nihilistic humor of the new internet generation. But the social year was also defined by the Great Protest. The Black Lives Matter movement reached a fever pitch following the deaths of Alton Sterling and Philando Castile, while the Standing Rock protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline became a clash of civilizations over land and water. These weren't just protests. They were visual insurrections, broadcast live to millions. 2016 was the year of the social echo chamber, where we were either catching Pokémon together or fighting in the streets, with no middle ground in between. It was the year we realized that our social reality was being engineered by engagement metrics, turning our most profound social movements into content to be consumed and discarded. As 2016 entered its second half, the pressure of the year escalated into a series of breaking points. The defining escalation was the siege of Aleppo. The Syrian civil war reached its most brutal climax, as the city was turned into a graveyard under a rain of barrel bombs. The images of Omran Daknish, the boy in the ambulance, became the silent scream of a world that had failed to intervene. This was the escalation of global indifference, the moment the international community admitted it was powerless against raw, autocratic force. Simultaneously, the Zika virus escalated into a global health emergency. The image of the microcephaly babies in Brazil brought a new biological fear to the 2016 Olympic Games. It was a medical escalation that reminded us that nature was still capable of disrupting our most expensive spectacles. The escalation was also felt in the cyber domain. The Mirai botnet attack, which used everyday Internet of Things devices to shut down massive portions of the web, was a stress test for our digital dependency. It proved that our smart fridges and cameras could be turned against us. Every problem was now converging. The war in Syria fed the migrant crisis, which fed the populist rage, which was amplified by the cyber attacks. By the end of 2016, the momentum was toward entropy. The stakes were no longer about progress, but about survival, in a world that felt like it was losing its grip on truth, safety, and the very concept of a shared future. Despite the chaos, 2016 was a year of impossible breakthroughs. The greatest high was the discovery of gravitational waves by the LIGO team. For the first time, we heard the ripples in space-time from two black holes colliding a billion light-years away. It was a high of the human mind, confirming Einstein's final prediction and opening a new window into the universe. In 2016, we proved that while our politics were terrestrial and petty, our science was celestial and profound. In the world of technology, 2016 saw the high of AlphaGo. Google's AI defeated the world champion Lee Sedol at the game of Go, a feat previously thought to be decades away. It was the high of artificial intelligence, signaling that the intuition gap between man and machine was closing. Simultaneously, the high of solar energy was felt as Solar Impulse 2 completed the first flight around the world without a drop of fuel. It was a high of ingenuity, a beacon of hope, and a year of climate dread. In sports, the high was the miracle of Leicester City. A 5,000-to-1 underdog winning the English Premier League was a high of the underdog, a rare moment where the impossible was actually beautiful. We also saw the high of the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series for the first time in 108 years, breaking a legendary curse. These highs took society forward because they were triumphs of logic and resilience. They were moments where the gaze of humanity was fixed on the stars, the future, and the fair play of the field. People believed that if we could listen to the birth of the universe and build an artificial brain that could play the world's most complex game, then surely we could solve the messy problems of our own making. It was the high of the explorer, proving that our species' intelligence was still the most powerful force on the planet. The lows of 2016 were defined by the brutality of the lone wolf and the failure of protection. The low point of the year was the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. 49 people were murdered in an act of targeted hate, the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history at the time. This was a low of the soul, the realization that the safe spaces of our society were now front lines. It moved society toward a permanent state of vigilance and grief. In Europe, the Bastille Day attack in Nice, where a truck was used as a weapon to mow down hundreds, was a low of humanity. It proved that the low-tech terror of the future would be impossible to predict and even harder to stop. The lows were also found in the Panama Papers leak, which exposed a global architecture of corruption, showing how the world's elite hid their wealth while the rest of the world suffered under austerity. Economically, the low was the Great Bank Fine era, with Wells Fargo exposed for creating millions of fake accounts, a low of trust that showed the system was still rigged. But the deepest low was the loss of the greats. Beyond Bowie and Prince, the loss of Muhammad Ali, Leonard Cohen, and Carrie Fisher felt like the death of character. It was as if the moral North Stars of the 20th century were being snuffed out one by one. These lows moved society in the wrong direction by entrenching fear and cynicism. They were the human cost of a world that had prioritized speed and engagement over empathy and security. 2016 ended with a ledger that showed we were a high-definition, low-resolution world. The damage was deep and moral, creating a sense that the financial contracts were being shredded by the very people who were supposed to be its guardians. 2016 will be remembered as the year the post-war consensus finally collapsed. It was the historical turning point where disruption became the only constant. It mattered because it was the year the algorithm became a political actor. We learned that the truth was no longer a shared foundation, but a customized product. This was the year that the people and the internet joined forces to overthrow the old world. Why was it a turning point? Because it marked the inauguration of uncertainty. It reshaped history by forcing a great recalibration of what was possible. What ended was the era of quiet competence. What began was the era of loud disruption, where the loudest voice in the room was the only one that mattered. 2016 reshaped history by proving that identity was the new currency. It was the year we realized that the global village was actually a global arena, and the game was just beginning. The impact of 2016 is the structural reality of our lives today. The AI-driven politics and the deepfake reality we now navigate were born in the memes and bots of 2016. The sovereign supply chains and the nationalist economics of today were a direct response to the globalist shock of that year. We see the impact in our fragmented media, where every citizen is now their own editor-in-chief. The gravitational wave discovery of 2016 has now given us the space-time telescopes of today. However, the political tribalism and the death of the center that started in 2016 are now the permanent features of our landscape. We live in a world of hyper-visibility and hyper-polarization, a reality we first saw the source code of in 2016. 2016 taught us that the old normal was never coming back. We are the survivors of the great upset, navigating a world where truth is a premium feature and the only rule is that there are no rules. 2016 was the year the world stopped following the script and started writing its own chaotic sequel. It was a year of gravitational waves and political earthquakes, a year that showed us we could hear the stars but couldn't speak to each other. The exposure of 2016 is complete, but the great disruption of 2017 is just around the corner. Join us next time. If this year surprised you, challenged what you thought you knew, or reminded you of something you lived through, leave a comment with what it meant to you. If this series helps you understand the present through the past, consider liking the video. And if you want every year exposed, subscribe to the channel. History isn't just something we watch, it's something we interpret, and something many of us lived through. Another year exposed is coming soon. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.